Hello and welcome to a live Kaffee break, or I should say Kaffee und Kuchen break, live from Germany here on Deprogram. I'm your host, Keri Smith, and I hope this is working. Apologize for starting a little late and hope that I'm appreciative that you guys waited if you're hanging out here, and I also hope you can hear me. So, hey, howdy, Dion, John, Real Raven. Real Raven, I believe, is German, and I hope mein Mann, that means my husband, gets here soon so he can translate what you're saying. It's pretty funny. So we're in Germany. Uh, and this is the start. We've been here for almost a week now, the start of a music tour that my husband's doing with his full band is here right now. And they've done 4 shows so far in Munich. And then we're the next few days, we're going to do some sightseeing. And then he has shows in Switzerland and Amsterdam. And then we're going to spend some time in France. So I figured once we got out here, I could see what the Wi-Fi was like. And if we're able to do live shows, I also have some pre-recorded things we're going to continue releasing. We've released a few of them. If you missed it, we had our Wednesday night pop culture. That was about masculinity in film with myself and Mystery Chris. And also an interview that I did with Shagsworth came out, which was about, what a lot of us have been through, leaving the left or finding ourselves politically homeless, and just dealing with living in this crazy time that we're living in now and figuring out, where do we fit in things, because some of us don't neatly fit in one of the boxes that they want to put us in. So anyway, that interview is out if you haven't seen it. And I figured I'd just check in and talk to you guys about what Germany's been like so far. There's no AC here where I'm at right currently, so it's a bit sweaty here. I apologize. And the lights, I look like Keith Olbermann. Doesn't he get so close to the camera, like, hello? I feel like Keith Olbermann should just put the camera like inside his mouth already, because he's always up on top of it. So Germany so far, some of the fun stuff before I want to talk about this Der Spiegel article about climate change activists. But before I get to that, hey, Vermont Cheddar. Oh, I hope your dog's okay at the vet. Good to see you here. Couple of fun things. Oh, a couple of housekeeping things. If it's your first time here and you like the show and you've been coming back for a while, we do have ways to support Deprogram. There is locals, a Patreon, and a Subscribe Star, or you can become a member here at YouTube. If you can't do that and you want to support, you could just leave a comment. That helps with our algorithm. And yeah, I think that's the only housekeeping stuff. So Germany. Today, I'm going to post this video in a little bit, but there's this river here. A river runs through it in Munich. And there are these surfers. It's hard to explain because you're in the middle of the city. And when my husband was telling me about this before we went over there, I didn't know what he was talking about, because you're in the middle of a city. But these surfers go, and there's a river, and where it comes out from under the bridge, there are these rapids, and they just jump in. And it's at the English Gardens is what it's called. And you can watch them just one after another, just ride the rapids. I got some video of it. It's pretty cool. And then you can also get in the river, which we finally did today. And you can float on your back or your stomach pretty far down the river. I went over the rapids twice. And it's a little scary the first time, because you're like, there are rocks in there or no? But it's pretty deep, and it's so cold. It's very refreshing, and it's under this canopy of trees, and you're just floating down the river, and you can, get off when you're ready. Like, okay, grab onto the embankment and pull yourself up, and it moves pretty fast. You don't have to do anything. You just lay on your back, and if you sit on the riverbank, you can just watch all these people and kids and stuff just floating by, and that was kind of cool. I was thinking, if you lived here, how cool would that be? You're in the middle of the city and you're like, it's pretty hot today. Let's go float down the river. Real Raven says it's mountain water. Real Raven says, I used to live in Munich. It's the best. It's mountain water. Yeah. So it's very cold and refreshing. Um, so that's we did a little bit of that today, which was awesome. My husband played he and his band last night played at this country bar called the Rattlesnake Saloon. It was fantastic. And it's basically it feels like a Texas bar or just a bar from the South. They also had some South Carolina stuff, which is my original home state, so that was kind of cool. And just stuff from all over, all different states, just American stuff. They love country music. There's pictures of country music stars everywhere. And it's not just that it feels like a bar from the South, it also feels like a bar from the 1980s. It feels like you're stepping back in time. They even have a cigarette machine that works. And it just looks like it has, and they have pictures up. The bar opened in the 80s. And so they have pictures up, and it doesn't look like it's changed very much at all. And it's like all country Western lovers. And they have a train, a little toy train that goes around the length of the bar. And it goes on the stage, behind the stage. And when the band is playing, the sound guy and the waitress will put little shot glasses of whiskey and stuff in the train and then send it, and the lights start going and it goes behind the stage. We didn't know until it happened. And then my husband's bassist was like, "There's a train here." The train just like stops, and then they had shots for the band. And that was pretty cool. We thought they were saying, man, if they did that in Austin, like all the bands would want to play there. If they sent you alcohol like that. So I want to show you a couple things. I wonder if I should show you this funny picture or not. Why not? I was going to post this, and then I thought better of it because I knew it would make a lot of people mad. And it was really hard not to post it because it's just a joke. It's funny and it cracked me up. And it's really hard for me to leave a it's hard for I'm not a professional comedian. I'm just like you, but I'm a person who likes to make jokes in my daily life. And it's very hard for me once I have seen a joke to leave it there on the table and not take it. And so I'm going to show you this joke because I didn't do it on Twitter. Here, I have to send this photo to myself. Give me 1 second. But I was like, oh man, if I post this, it doesn't matter how much context I give or how obvious the joke is. People will, who knows, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it'll be taken out of context as something that people were like, look at this post. So, so I left the joke on the table. Okay, here it is. Let me see. But you guys, I'll show it to you. So some Germans like love country Western music. And like this bar I was mentioning, and they love like cowboy culture. And Mystery Chris and I have talked about before. We've talked about the Confederate flag and how doesn't it doesn't have a universal meaning like people today like to pretend that it does. That flag means this, right? No, it doesn't. It means that to some people, yes. Are there some racists who fly it? Yes. Is that always what it has meant? No. And if you go back just a few decades, you see shows like Dukes of Hazzard, which of course today, you know, you wouldn't be able to do that show with that imagery, but it was basically just, it represented Southern culture. It represented individualism, a rebellious spirit. The Dukes of Hazzard didn't have that flag on their car because they were racists. That's not what it meant to them. And like a lot of words and symbols, we're living in this new time where we're all just supposed to fall in line and accept whatever they say. Like, this is what this means now, but it's not what it's always meant. And in Germany, at some of these country bars and the bars where they do line dancing and stuff, they will have the rebel flag in various forms because to them, it means just like Dukes of Hazzard, especially this bar, which was formed in the 80s, when the Dukes of Hazzard were big. And it's just like, oh, that's Southern. right? Like that's a Southern thing. And they have all kinds of other flags there too, but they did have this one big rebel flag that said Munich and it had an eagle on it. And of course, being Americans and knowing how, as I mentioned, now we're all supposed to pretend like, oh, it can only mean and has only ever meant racism. We were kind of cracking jokes about like, I bet nobody takes a picture in front of that flag anymore. So I took this picture. I just thought it would be funny. This was the joke I didn't do, but I really wanted to do. I wanted to just post it with none of that context. I just wanted to post it and say like, hey guys, I bent my hat brim back this way, tilted a little. Do you like it better than the way I used to wear it? And just kind of make it about my hat and not say anything about the flag. I don't know why that's so funny to me. Because it's my kind of humor. It's dumb humor where there's like this big unspoken thing where people are like, screw your hat. What's that flag behind you? How dare you? How dare you? Blardful says I can feel the haters already. Yeah, exactly. Or what if you're like, hey guys, I just got some new earrings. What do you think? It's so stupid. And they're like, what? What's behind you? That's where my brain goes. But you can see they've altered it. It's not even the Confederate flag. They have a big eagle on it. It says like up at the top, it says like Munich and some other stuff. I don't know, but it's like right there on the wall. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Okay, I'll take that photo down. I took a lot of pictures of the bar. I'm going to post a bunch of them later. Maybe not that one. But like I said, they have other, like a lot of Texas stuff and Texas flag and a lot of just different kinds of American flags. They love cowboy culture. Okay. See, look, Real Raven says, what flag? I only see a beautiful hat and a white lady. Right. Okay. The other thing I was going to say is I posted, and I'll post again, my husband's schedule. I'll post it on the community page here at YouTube. And if you are in any of the cities that we're going to be visiting on his tour, feel free to come out and see us at one of the shows or get in touch because I'd love to meet you. I actually got to meet some people a couple of days ago. And Michael, if you're watching, thank you for coming down. That was fun. Talking with him. He was brilliant. He's a physicist who showed up, and it's not awkward at all. If you guys think it's going to be awkward, like, I don't know you, I just know you from the internet or whatever, and don't worry about it. Who cares? Just come. It'll be fun. And so yeah, I'll post that on the community page so you can see where we're going to be going. But here, this is the article I wanted to talk about today, being here in Germany. So this is Der Spiegel, which my husband was telling me is basically like Rolling Stone, or it was like Rolling Stone before Rolling Stone was Rolling Stone. And, the magazine here in Germany. And this is the current cover. And I've got their tweet pulled up where they have the cover of the magazine. And they have one of these young climate activists sitting wearing the orange vest, sitting blocking a car, blocking traffic. And the headline, the cover story, the cover title is The New Enemies of the State. The New Enemies of the State. Okay. So that's Enemies of the State. Now, I just want to emphasize that title a lot because once you open up this magazine, here, let me show you what this inside looks like. They start talking about these young climate activists. Now, you may not have known this. I didn't know this. They have a new catchy name. They call themselves the Last Generation. You can guess. Take a guess what that's supposed to mean. Because it's pretty easy to guess. I guess accurately. They call themselves the Last Generation. They're basically saying, because of what we've done to the climate, there's not going to be any more people after us. It's so arrogant. We're the last. We're the last generation. Okay. Look, yes, Real Raven. If you know about this, drop me some info on this because this is what we suspect. Real Raven says, but it's ironic because most of them are actually funded by the state. Yes. Okay, so these are supposed to be supposedly, according to the cover title, like, the new enemies of the state. Like, these are the resistance guys. These are the guys who the government hates these people. The state hates these, the establishment hates these people. That's why we're going to do a whole cover story on it. We're going to do a whole cover story and we're going to glorify them as heroes because that's how much we hate them and the state hates them and the mainstream hates them. We all hate them. They're such rebels. They're such resistance, guys. Do you get what I'm saying? This is complete propaganda. If they were actual enemies of the state, they would not have a cover piece in Der Spiegel. And the piece wouldn't have been written in the way that it is trying to turn them into heroes. If they were actual enemies of the state, are you kidding me? They would get the Jordan Peterson treatment. They would not be held up like if they were actual enemies of the state, they get the Alex Jones treatment. These are not enemies of the state. These are puppets of the state that are being sold to us as some kind of revolutionaries and rebels. Oh, the state hates these guys. The state hates them. Look at this. So you open it up in the magazine, insights into the inner workings of the last generation. Thank you, Frank. I thought I was, Frank says, you're on point, Keri. Right? Isn't that kind of obvious? Like, the establishment doesn't hate these guys. They love them. They love them. Okay, now the piece, unfortunately, online, I can't pull the whole thing up because I don't want to pay them. But I have a photograph here of the inside. I just want to show you this because, and I've already got this picture. I've already got this picture pulled up, so we don't have to wait too long. So they have a whole spread of 4 photos. Can you see those? So when you open the article, they've got 4 of these young climate activists that are part of the quote unquote last generation. And they're in their orange vests and they're all standing there. And that they flew in a special photographer for this, the magazine, or they flew the activists in and put them up in a nice hotel maybe, and, paid for this piece, this cover piece in the magazine, Der Spiegel. We want to do a piece about how we all hate you and everyone hates you because you're enemies of the state. And we're going to bring in this famous photographer and we want you guys to stand. And they gave them direct photo direction. Stand here and look like rebels. And so they did this glowing article about them and they have these 4 portraits here and it just kind of made me laugh. Jacob says, who's buying this crap? Right? Well, a lot of leftists are buying it. They read it. They're like, look at the resistance, guys. Look at these. These are the enemies of the state. No, they're not. They're being pushed on you in the biggest magazine in Germany is telling you about them and writing this heroic kind of, shedding this heroic kind of light on them. They're not enemies of the state. They're puppets of the state. And they're everywhere. The article, what I was told, I don't speak German. Someone who does and was telling me what the article said that they're kind of trying to push the idea that this is a grassroots movement, that this movement of young climate activists that wear these orange vests and destroy artworks, destroy pieces of history, sit in traffic and block traffic and prevent people from being able to get to the hospital and other places and work, places they have to go. They try to present it as if this is a grassroots movement of young people. I don't buy that for a second. I don't buy it for a second. Real Raven, Keri, your instincts 100% on point. Thank you. It's okay if you disagree, because I want to know if I'm wrong here, but so far I'm feeling like, okay, it's not just me, because a lot of you seem to agree that this is not, these guys are no threat to the state at all. In fact, what they're going to do, if this movement spreads, is they are making a path. They're making, creating space for the public to become accustomed to the idea that the government needs to place more regulations on us, more restrictions on our individual rights, more restrictions on private businesses, that the government needs to restrict more of our rights to protect the climate. So they're not working against the state at all. These guys are working for the state. These guys are blocking traffic and destroying historic pieces of art so the state can expand its power and its reach into our lives. They're not enemies of the state. These are foot soldiers of the state. Phony resistance. Phony. Do some of them actually believe they're resistance? Probably. I believe that some of them do. But are they, does it matter what they believe? No. People believe all sorts of things. Heaven's Gate cult, like those people thought they were really going up in some spaceship. Like it doesn't matter what they believe. What are the facts? The facts are no matter what these guys think they're doing, what they're actually doing is they are carrying out the state, the government's agenda, and they're using climate change as the reason to do it. My husband's here. Hello, Anthony Garcia Music. He says, it's like when the famous actors and politicians were bailing out Antifa during the riots. Yes, exactly. Antifa is so anti-establishment, guys, that the politicians are bailing them out. There's such resistance that you've got mainstream Democratic politicians raising money to get them out of jail. BLM is such a threat to the establishment, guys, that you've got all of the mainstream politicians and celebrities raising money to get them out of jail because they're such a threat. Right. Right. Kamala bailed them out too. Yeah. The vice president bailed them out. The vice president of the U.S. helped bail them out because they're such a threat to the establishment, to the state. Yeah. My husband points out, oh yeah, here's the other thing about the article in Der Spiegel. If you do speak German, go read the article and tell me in the comments below what you think about the Last Generation article, the cover article, the cover story for this month. But one of the things that the piece talks about is how they're starting, that they are purposefully, this so-called last generation, these climate activists, they are purposefully, in Germany anyway, they are purposefully targeting Bavaria. Did I say that right? So that's the area we're in. Munich is part of it. And the way it was described to me, I don't know enough about Germany. This is only my second time ever here. So this is what was described to me, is that it's, and in the article it says this, that they're targeting Bavaria because it's more conservative. And it's like they called it, or somebody called it like the Alabama of Germany. So insulting, first of all. I mean, they're trying to be insulting. There's nothing wrong with Alabama. There's nothing wrong with the South. But they think there is. So it's like it's kind of like an implied insult. It's like, oh, it's like the Alabama of Germany. So it said they're purposefully targeting this area because it is more conservative and they want to make inroads here first. And I'll say this. When I was told that where I'm at right now in Germany, in Munich, is the conservative area, I was like, really? Because it doesn't seem that way to me, just walking around. Now, I get that I'm in a big city in the German area. So maybe it's a bit like being in Austin, Texas, okay? Where you are technically in a red state, but you're in a very blue city. So maybe it's a bit like that. Because if you walk around here in Munich, like just today, you see all these billboards and stuff that's like queer story time, such and such in the park, you know, with rainbow flags and everything. And if you go to any of the music venues, in the bathrooms, like people have graffiti and stuff, and they have like stickers everywhere. And there's all these Antifa stickers everywhere. And there's a bunch of, so there are so many political parties here, I can't figure them out. You know, in the US, it sucks because we really just have two major parties. But if we had a lot, like Germany does, I don't know how they keep it straight, because there's a lot of political advertisements that are up right now, and they all are, you know, the ODP, the UDP, the FDP. I don't know. It's just, they're all just like a ton of acronyms. I'm taking pictures of all of them because they don't look like political ads. Like there's something about the German political ads. They look like sitcom ads to me. They don't look like the kind of ads we have in the States. I'll post some pictures of them. They look kind of like something you would see that's like coming this fall, the WB. And like a character. They all look like characters. And anyway, one of the parties here that everyone seems to hate in Munich, or at least people on the left do, is the AfD, Alternative for Germany, Alternative for Deutschland. And I don't know enough about them yet. I want to learn more because here's why. Because all the people on the left here tell me, oh, they're Nazis, they're total Nazis, and they're just like, they're MAGA, and they're awful, and they're racist. And I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I don't trust that anymore. I don't trust that anymore because you guys on the left have ruined all these words. You've made them meaningless. So that's one of the problems with using those words incorrectly, is that people get to a place where it's like the boy who cried wolf, where I don't automatically believe that anymore. In fact, now I'm like, you're probably lying, or you're probably misguided. Because you know what? People have called me all those things. People have called me all those things. So why would I believe that? It's stupid. So just because you say, and I will see it sometimes, it's like disappointment on people's face where they're like, no, they're terrible. They're not, they're this, they're that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll have to look it up. And they're like, what? And it's like, yeah, because I've been called those things. So, and I'm not, right? So anyway, the point is, I don't know enough about them. I know that they want stricter immigration control. And everyone here in this city, a lot of people here in this city seem to believe they're terrible people, the AfD. And so what you'll see are in the bathrooms at the music venues, you'll see these Antifa stickers everywhere, anti-fascist, whatever. And then you'll see these stickers that say FCK AFD. So F word, the AFD, right? It's kind of like saying F MAGA, right? And so those stickers are everywhere. And what I haven't seen are any AFD billboards or stickers or anything. We've seen all kind of political party billboards. I've taken photos of a lot of them. Haven't seen any for the AfD. I haven't seen any of their stickers. And so all this talk that I keep hearing here, it's like, well, where are they? You keep saying they're like terrible, and they're like, they're the N word, the Nazi word, and that they're everywhere. Well, I don't see them anywhere. It doesn't seem like you have a problem with them here. It seems like you have an Antifa problem here. Like Antifa stickers are everywhere. Seems like you have an Antifa infestation here in Munich. That's a problem. That's a real problem. John says, why do they want to water down the word Nazi? I don't think the intention was to water it down. I think the intention was to use the worst thing possible to call their political enemies. Like if you look in the US, for example, they try to make MAGA or Trump or whatever, or Republican synonymous with that. It's the lowest tactic in the book, is to call someone the worst possible thing that they're not. But the side effect of that is that it waters it down, because you've done that so much now that word doesn't mean anything anymore. And so that sucks, because I was telling my husband, because I don't trust that anymore. It takes me a while to like look through everything to see what I think. When I hear that, I don't trust anymore. I'm like, well, when I have time, I'll research that person or that party or whatever. So for example, in the US, I will hear people who are called that all the time, and it turns out not to be true. So that every once in a while, when it is true, you're like, oh, okay. But I had to do work to find that out. Like this guy, Nick Fuentes or whatever, I kept hearing a lot of stuff about him, and I kept hearing, oh, he's white nationalist and all this stuff. I'm like, is he? I don't know, because they say that about everybody. And then when I finally looked it up and looked him up and read enough to form my own opinion, and I was like, oh yeah, it looks like he actually is He actually is a white nationalist. Gross. But it took me a while to figure that out. It took me a while to get around to doing the research, and I didn't know what to. I wasn't going to take them at their word, and so that's the downside of using those words incorrectly. Is that you train people not to trust you. You train people to think you are lying when you say that about someone. So don't do that. Don't use those words unless they're correct. Be very careful with your language. Somebody says he's an innocent cat boy. I don't know what that means, but okay. Real Raven says exactly the use of the N word is overinflated, not enough supply and too much demand. But the government is kind of fascistic. They were struggling not to have universal jab mandate. Yeah. Okay. So that's the that's all I wanted to read about the Der Spiegel article. Unfortunately, like I said, I can't go through the full piece because I can't get behind their paywall. But I do want to show you this. So I wasn't familiar with The Last Generation, which is what the piece is about. There was a new article that just came out in Der Spiegel, same magazine, on their online version today, and we can read this. And then I want to read a little bit about The Last Generation in general. So this one is about a recent ruling that just came down that affects them, because that cover story piece, like I said, is very flattering in some ways, sort of making them out to be heroes and these famous resistors and, you know, enemies of the state. Yeah, right. And this piece just came out about some of their tactics. Here, let me make this a little larger. Okay, can you guys see that? It says Berlin Court of Appeals affirms that road blockades are fundamentally go away. What does that pop up? Go away. That road blockades are fundamentally punishable. Here's the subtitle. According to the Berlin Court of Appeal, road blockades by climate activists are generally punishable. Sticking to the roadway could be, quote, weighty evidence of violent resistance, end quote. So you can see a picture here of some of their tactics. These are the jerks that you see in the news repeatedly, as I mentioned, who wear the orange vests and go and destroy historic pieces of art. And then they also Am I back? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know what happened. My internet went out. Where was I? Somebody in the chat tell me, because I finished reading the whole article before I realized that I. Oh, great. John says I'm back. I finished reading the whole article before I realized that I wasn't with you guys anymore. Texas Sheep Lady, hello. She says they may be the last generation if they keep sterilizing themselves. Ain't that the truth? That is a dark joke, and it's funny because it's true. Thomas says we only saw the headline. Anthony says you were at the beginning. Okay. I don't know if I should read the whole thing again, but here, let me just put it up so I can show you this picture though. So basically there's this court which said that yes, if you are one of these climate activists that's part of the last generation, they call them that too. Like they want to be called that. And the media obliges and calls them that. So this piece calls them that. But you can see this picture here. There's one of these activists, and she's wearing the orange vest, and she has glued her hand to the street. And so the court is saying this can be considered the same as chaining yourself to something. Like some of the environmental activists or the animal rights activists often chain themselves to things, you know. So it's like, yes, gluing yourself is like chaining yourself. It's you are actively resisting arrest and making it harder for the cops to clear the street so traffic can move. But then at the very end of the article, you see that in this specific person's case, the judge basically said there wasn't enough evidence to show in this specific case whether or not gluing herself was, you know, actively resisting. And so it was kind of disappointing because you're like, wait, you just ruled that it is an act of resistance from being arrested. And then you're saying, but we can't really tell if she was doing that or not. Yeah, you can. Look, she glued her hand to the sidewalk, to the street. So, okay. I'm going to stop sharing that. Adam says, where's the guy with the bulldozer when you need him? Yeah, these people, they don't have any empathy for all of the lives that they disrupt when they do this, all the lives they put in danger when they do this, the people who are trying to get to work, the people who are trying to get to the hospital, the people who might have an emergency. They don't care. They're going to block traffic anyway because they're that arrogant that they think whatever they decide is most important for everyone, that they have a right to block your ability to pass. They have a right to stop you from traveling somewhere. They have the right to make that determination for everyone. I can't stand these kind of people. Okay, so I had never heard until this article, I had never even heard the phrase the last generation. I don't know if you guys have or not. So apparently it came out of Europe. So some of the Europeans may be more familiar with it. But let's read the Wikipedia article, which we know is going to be biased because Wikipedia is written by the people who choose to edit it, which a lot of the times are ideologues like me. I used to edit it when I was woke. So this is the Wikipedia entry for the last generation, parentheses, climate movement. Of course, it has a little notice here that says the neutrality of this article is disputed. Is it? It also has a corresponding article in German. We're going to read the English one. It says the last generation is a group of climate change activists, mostly active in Germany, Italy, and Austria. Since their formation in 2021, they have staged numerous road blockades, over 276 in Germany alone over the course of 2022. And they've used paint to vandalize yachts, notorious paintings, buildings, restaurants, and private jets. Why do they say notorious paintings? Why not just famous historic paintings? Notorious paintings, to me, makes it sound like the paintings did something to deserve it. they did it. Didn't they deface the Mona Lisa? They defaced all kinds of historic paintings. They're not notorious paintings. It sounds like a rapper. They've painted over notorious paintings. Okay. In Rome, they threw soup at a Van Gogh painting behind glass called The Sower. In Potsdam, they threw mashed potatoes onto a Monet painting. None of the artworks they attacked were damaged. And then they have a little footnote here. I do not believe that for a second. None of the artworks were damaged. They threw tomato soup on some of these pieces. They threw oil on some of these pieces. This is the problem with Wikipedia, is people can say stuff like this and then go back and forth, and get away with it. So the evidence that they have that none of the paintings were damaged is an article called, this is the name of the article they linked as evidence. German Last Generation Group, not a threat to democracy. Really? Let's take a little detour and read this article real quick. Because again, we were being told in that headline from Der Spiegel that these guys are the new enemy of the state, guys. You guys, the last generation, these climate activists, they're the new enemy of the state. Okay, well, here's a headline that says German Last Generation Group, not a threat to democracy. Now look at the subtitle. This is from November of last year. The subtitle, Last Generation Climate Activists are sparking public outrage with protests calling attention to the devastating effects of climate change. But Germany's domestic intelligence service does not see the group as a threat. Are you kidding me? They don't? Really? But I thought they were the enemies of the state. Der Spiegel says they're the enemies of the state. But here, this outright admits that Germany's domestic intelligence service doesn't see them as a threat. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Here's another guy you can see in this picture, with his hand glued to the street, and the police taking forever to try and remove him. The Last Generation Climate Activist Group will not be monitored by the German Domestic Intelligence Services, its president, Thomas Haldenwang, said, quote, I do not recognize this group to be in opposition to free domestic order, and thus it is not an object of observation for the domestic intelligence services, Haldenwang said Wednesday evening. Wow, so he's saying, the head of German domestic intelligence is saying that these climate activists, the last generation, are no threat. They're no opposition to free domestic order, even though they're blocking themselves to the street. They're blocking the street by gluing themselves to the road, and nobody can get to work, and they're disrupting the economy, and they're disrupting the lives of countless people. But they're no opposition to free domestic order, says the government. Despite the activists having blocked roads and desecrated works of art, quote, committing crime does not make the group extremist, end quote. He went on to criticize earlier comments made by Alexander Dobrindt of the Christian Social Union, who said the activist group must be prevented from becoming a militant group. Haldenwang called this nonsense. So the head of German Domestic Intelligence Services said this is nonsense. He said that his agency's task was to protect a free democratic order, and that the last generation's demands for government action on climate change issues showed respect for the current democratic system. You guys, if there's anyone on the left listening to this episode, how do you explain this? I just wonder sometimes how you think about stuff like this, because when you read a cover story like the Der Spiegel one that says these are enemies of the state, the government really hates these guys, do you believe that? How can you believe that? Here's another article that's openly quoting the head of the government, the German government's intelligence services group, that says these guys are no threat. They support the government. They're making demands for the government to take action on climate change. He says it shows respect for the current democratic system. They're no threat to the government. They work for the government. While criminal acts were subject to punishment, that was the job of the police and courts, and it would be inappropriate for intelligence services to get involved, he said. Let's scroll down a bit. Who are the last generation? The last generation is a group of activists fighting climate change by generating public outrage through civil disobedience, such as desecrating works of art or blocking roads. Currently, the group is demanding the return of the €9 ticket, as well as a speed limit of 100 kilometers per hour on German motorways. And then at the end of this article, it says, none of the artworks were damaged. Do you believe that? No. No. Okay, we just had to take a little side track there because that in the Wikipedia article, that's what they're basing this statement on. None of the paintings were damaged. Okay, let's continue here. There's civil disobedience methods. Hold on, let me make sure. Are we still going? Did I lose internet? Nope, we're going. Okay. Their civil disobedience methods, such as desecrating artworks or blocking roads, have met with mixed reactions from the public, including expressions of outrage and threats of violence. Yeah, the general public's pretty pissed when you block the road so that they can't get to work or get to the hospital or the grocery store. The group was formed by participants of the 2021 hunger strike, which had blockaded highways in Berlin. They chose their name to signal that Earth is approaching climate tipping points and that their generation is the last one that can prevent climate collapse. Sorry. I'm sorry. Their generation is the last one that can prevent climate collapse. The group states that there is a climate emergency and demands that citizens decide their own future. Wait a minute. Citizens decide our own future with what? More government regulation. No, I see. Okay. They talk in the upside down. Again, if you're on the left and you're watching this, does this make sense to you? Does protesting in the street and demanding that the government impose more regulations and more restrictions on individual rights, does that mean the same thing as citizens deciding their own future? No, it doesn't. Why do you let groups like this, the last generation, why do you let papers like magazines like Der Spiegel, why do you let them insult your intelligence and talk to you like you're stupid? They talk to you like you're going to believe this stuff. And what sucks is that some of you do. But it's so dumb. Okay. They demand that citizens decide their own future by implementing society councils, while the cost of solving the climate crisis should not be borne by workers, but rather by the rich. The group demands a debt cut and payments to states of the global south as compensation for climate change. Okay, so they want to take some people's money and move it around to other people. Okay. Also, they are demanding the introduction of a general speed limit on the Autobahn and a permanent €9 ticket. In early 2023, the group declared parliamentarian democracy to be unfit for dealing with the climate crisis and demanded the implementation of society councils to work out emergency measures. Oh, okay. They basically said democracy is not going to work for us. We want authoritarianism and the ability just to tell you this is what's happening. This is what we're doing. The members of those councils, they said, should be selected by I don't know that word, sortition, from various backgrounds and age classes. Existing conventional political institutions would be obliged to implement the council's decisions exactly as agreed. Look at that last little threat there. That sounds like something a kidnapper would put in a hostage letter. Existing conventional political institutions would be obliged to implement our decisions exactly as agreed. Like, it's such a threat. They talk like terrorists. They talk like kidnappers. Methods. The last generation's main method is road blockades. While at the beginning of the movement, the group also frequently distributed food from dumpsters for free. Okay, so they stopped doing the one thing that I guess you could say was helping people, if you could consider eating out of the dumpster help. For some people, and I'm sure it is actually, you can find some, I've heard, you can find some okay stuff in some dumpsters. If the grocery store is dumping out stuff, you get it the same day or whatever. They quit doing that. Now they're just doing the road blockades. The group also used paint to vandalize property. An example of this is their vandalism actions in Silt, where the group used paint on several buildings and a private jet. The last generation state that they performed 370 actions between January and October of 2022. In October of 2022, two Last Generation activists threw mashed potatoes at a Monet painting behind glass titled Grain Stacks. The painting is part of the Impressionism collection at the museum in Potsdam, Germany. It says the painting was left undamaged. However, the museum stated that the frame was damaged and estimated that its restoration would incur a 5-figure cost in euros. Similarly, in November of 2022, The Last Generation threw soup at the Sower by Vincent van Gogh, also behind glass. In Rome, Italy, it says it suffered no damage. Like another Van Gogh painting targeted by a similar protest by Just Stop Oil 2 weeks earlier in London. In February of 2023, motorists attempted to remove Last Generation protesters from a motorway near the event venue ICC Berlin, with one car driver running over a protester's foot. The police were at the scene and initiated criminal proceedings against the driver on suspicion of simple bodily harm. Did you hear that? So these dumb Fs block the street, go and stand in the middle of traffic. They glue themselves in some cases to the road. And a car driver who accidentally runs over one of, like, the foot of one of them, he's the one that has criminal proceedings, criminal charges brought against him for accidentally running over the foot of someone who's in the street where they're not supposed to be in the middle of traffic. This world is upside down. It's upside down right now. In April of 2023, the group protested at the Berlin E-Prix, a Formula E electric car race. They don't even like the electric cars? What is this? They protested an electric car race by gluing themselves to the track and support vehicles. They glued themselves to the support vehicles right before the start. That same month, the use by police of pain compliance techniques to disperse a Last Generation road blockade came under public and legal scrutiny in Germany. Oh, okay, so the police are getting in trouble for how they deal with them. In May of 2023, the Last Generation spray painted an Aztec private airplane at the Berlin airport, causing $72,000 worth of damage to the aircraft. In the same month in Vienna, an emergency patient died. This is one of the ones I heard about. This is what I'm talking about. They block traffic and people can't make it to the hospital. And then one of the videos I saw, a woman actually got out of her car and was yelling and screaming at them, was trying to explain, I need to get to the hospital, and they don't care. Here we go. In the same month in Vienna, an emergency patient died in congestion caused by the group. A speaker of the group stated that it had made the mistake of not informing the ambulance service center. Oh, they made the mistake. It wasn't that blocking traffic was the mistake and causing someone to die because they couldn't get to the hospital. That wasn't the mistake. It was that they didn't inform the ambulance service ahead of time that they were going to be blocking the road. These jerks, these absolute jerks. Cheeky mayor. I'm taking a little break to look. They should be charged with manslaughter for the person who died in the ambulance. Yes, they should. By the way, thanks, Cheeky Mayor. Give it up for Cheeky Mayor, one of our mods. Oh, I already did that one. I already got that one from Real Raven. Davina is right on the money. She says, every authoritarian regime cultivates thugs. Name. Hold on. Am I still here? It looked like I lost internet for a second. I was just saying, I don't care if they're protesting under the name Black Lives Matter or Antifa or the Women's March or this climate activist Last Generation, whatever they want to call themselves. All of these guys are foot soldiers for the government. They're foot soldiers for the authoritarian regime. They're not the resistance. They're not the ones the government prosecutes. The enemies, you know how you can tell the enemies of the state? They don't get these fancy cover stories and photography spreads in Der Spiegel, the real enemies of the state. The real enemies of the state get prosecuted. Like a lot of the January 6 people. Beware the grassroots movements. Yeah. John Thomas says, Antifa, BLM, Stop Oil, all of them. Yeah, they're all the same. And the ones who think they're doing something good, I mean, I feel for them a little bit because they're so deluded. They think they're part of something good. Some of them really do believe they're on quote unquote the right side of history. That's what they always say, right? That's what I used to say when I was one of these leftists. They think they're on the they really do believe they're somehow opposing authority. Isn't that crazy? They're literally in the street demanding that the government restrict our rights more. That's what they want. It's just crazy to me. Okay. My throat's starting to hurt, so I'm going to quit reading that article, but you can read more about the last generation. Now that you know they're called that, I didn't know that. I still think that's so funny and arrogant. And the fact that in that piece it says, they call themselves that because they believe they're the last generation that can do something about climate change is so arrogant. So arrogant. Here, let me stop this. You guys, it is hot here. And like I mentioned, there's no AC. I don't know how the Europeans do it. So, let me know if there's something else you want to talk about. I'm just reading through the chat and seeing what you guys are saying. This was mostly a test to see how the live would work from this location and the Wi-Fi. It seems to be okay. It only dropped out the one time. Andrew Joyner says, thinking you are on the right side of history sounds like the most narcissistic mentality. Doesn't it? It absolutely is, but that's what they think. It's sort of like where Jordan Peterson talks about, instances of great human evil throughout history, and how a lot of these people, they would like to believe that they actually believe that they would have been the good guys, which isn't true because they're not the good guys today, but they still think that they think they are, right? Fruit juice for your voice, Keri. Yes, thank you. Real Raven, where are you playing your next gig? Anthony Garcia Music. Oh, thank you for this question. Here, I'm going to direct you guys. If you are in any of the locations we're going to be in, like I mentioned, let us know. Come out and say hello. And I'm going to put up a picture that's got all of my... Oh, actually, you can find it at anthonygarciamusic.com. We've got a few days off where he's not doing any shows, and then we're going to Switzerland. So his next few shows are going to be in Switzerland with the full band. Here. I think I can put this on the screen. Sorry, it's taking a little bit to open his website. Well, if I can't get it open in time to put it on the screen, but you are interested in the dates, the European dates, just go to Anthony Garcia Music and look under events, and you'll see all of the dates that are remaining, which include there are some more dates in Germany. There's going to be Switzerland dates. There's going to be some dates in Freiburg, Germany, some dates in Amsterdam, and then I think that's it. So unless he adds something else here, I finally get it up. John says, how long are you guys traveling? A few more weeks. We're here for a while. Okay. So these are the dates that are remaining. They've already done 4 gigs here in Munich. So the next one is in Switzerland in Zug. That's not Zurich, that's Zug, Z-U-G. It's the Zug Jazz Fest. And you can see there's a couple dates here in Switzerland, and there's Freiburg, Germany, Amsterdam. I think there's a few more than these. I'll post I'll make sure I post the most current list on the community tab here on my YouTube. But yeah, I would love to, like I said, I got to meet some people already who came out to one of the shows, and it was so fun. And we had good conversation, and don't be worried, don't be nervous. Sometimes people get nervous, like this is weird, I'm going to meet someone from the internet. it sounds like it could be bad. One of my good friends now who I met online, she comes to my house concerts now, and I've been to her house, and met her on Twitter because we have the same stalker. I met her that way. And first time she came to my house, she said she told her husband, like, he's like, where are we going? She's like, we're going to meet someone that I met on the internet. It sounds scary, but I promise it's not. In this case, it's not. So yeah, we'll have fun. Also at the shows, if you come out, if you like to dance, I will dance with you. I've been dancing my butt off. It's been fun. I love some of the shows, especially the old timers. They come out, they dance. They don't care what anybody thinks. I think the older you get, the easier that is to just like not care what other people think of you, and just have a good time. And there's this one older lady. We had a great time dancing. So yeah, come on out, bring your dancing shoes. The Drifter says, I know people still married to people they met from the internet 20 years ago. Well, good. Good for them. Somebody said, hold on. Oh, Texas Sheep Lady says, send Larry Elder $1 so he can be in the debates. Am I missing the debates? Aren't they today? Are you guys going to watch them? It's really funny because amongst some of my friends, they can, like offline, they consider me to be, Keri's the political person. Even here in Germany, these 2 strangers sat down at our table yesterday, the day before. They sat down at our table. It was at this outside event. My husband's band had just performed, and it was this beautiful area next to a lake with all kinds of food trucks. The food here is incredible, by the way. So we're eating, and we're sitting by the lake, and they have these big like communal tables, and these 2 guys came and sat across from us, these 2 German guys, and they just immediately started trying to talk politics. And it was really funny because my husband's friend, the bassist, he was like, they were like, what do you think about the EU? And they were asking him, what do you think about DeSantis? What do you think about Trump? And he was like, I just play music, man. He was like, he's like, Keri's the political one. So then they started talking to me. So it's funny because people consider me the political one, but I'm not really. Like, I don't like to watch the debates. I don't actually care much about national politics. I don't think it matters because I think it's all rigged. I don't trust the results of pretty much any national election since Kennedy. It's not a partisan thing. I don't trust any of them because why should I? I don't trust the government. So I don't put that much faith in it. I still vote because I don't like the idea of them making us sort of nihilistic or apathetic. So I still go out and vote, but I don't put a lot of stock in it. And sometimes I'll watch the debates, but ever since I got sober, it's been almost 4 years now. I don't watch that kind of stuff as much because I used to watch it for entertainment value. Like, oh, this is going to be funny. Let's watch it. And, and you'd have a few drinks. And now I'm like, is it really going to be funny? Probably not if you're sober. Dr. Coffin now says black pilled. Yeah, I got black pilled, but then I got white pilled. So I've talked to some people recently who I would say are black pilled. They're not white pilled yet. A couple people, and they're sort of like very scared about the future and what's happening culturally and what's happening with this Marxist, this identitarian Marxist ideology, social justice, and the kind of don't have a lot of hope right now. And I've told those people, and I fully believe this, you might have to get black pilled like you are now before you get white pilled. And white pilled, for me, in my experience anyway, it came after being black pilled, where it was sort of like, yeah, I don't trust the media or the government or any of this things that we grew up thinking we could believe in. I don't trust any of that. I don't put my faith in any of that. But I put my faith in something bigger and more important than politics, more eternal than politics. So maybe that's why I have hope and I have joy, because it's not based on man. It's not based on the government. Dr. Coffin Nels, define white pilled. Well, that's hard, right? Because everybody has different definitions for all these different supposed pills. Like even red pilled, depending on who you ask, it means different things. But I guess white pilled, some people use it to mean becoming Christian or becoming a person of faith. But I don't think it always means that. I've also seen it, I use it in a more general sense to be like becoming joyful and positive despite being black pilled. Becoming hopeful and joyful and positive. And there's a great poem by Wendell Berry, who, by the way, pretty sure was a progressive on the left. And he wrote this amazing poem with this, one of my favorite lines. Here, I'm going to pull up. My favorite line from the poem is, "Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts." That's kind of my white pill motto. Because it's like, considering all the facts, that's the black pill part. But being joyful anyway, that's the white pill part. The poem, if you want to read it, is called Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front by Wendell Berry. And it's got a lot of stuff packed into it. And it's talking about putting your faith in nature, like reality, what we know to be true. And listen to this part. It's really long. I'm just going to read this part. He says, "Put your faith in the 2 inches of hummus that will build under the tree every 1,000 years. Listen to the carry-on. Put your ear close and hear the faint chattering of the songs that are to come. Expect the end of the world. Laugh. Laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts." Isn't that great? It gives me goosebumps. It gets even better. You should read the whole thing. Giorgio says, "To me, white-pilled is not blindly optimistic. You see a silver lining despite everything else." That's it. That's a great definition. You're optimistic despite all the facts. John says, "To me, white-pilled equals hopeful and black-pilled equals hopeless." Yes. I think that's also a great definition. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap this up. I know we only did a little bit over an hour, but it's later here in Germany and it's hot up here. I think I might go downstairs, go for a walk or something, and had fun hanging out with you guys. Oh, I'll tell you 3 funny things. I told my husband from the trip, just, when you're on a trip and there's like funny quotes that happen. So the funniest quotes I think from the trip so far are my husband said, what did he say today? Oh, we passed by a restaurant and he was like, "Don't ever eat Mexican food in Germany." Which I just thought that should be in a book somewhere, right? A list of rules. Don't ever eat Mexican food in Germany. And then he also said the other day, he was like, "No, that guy's not autistic. He's just German." That guy's not, he doesn't have autism. He's just German. Sorry, Germans. It's funny. and then, um, and then what was the other? Hey, look, a German's laughing, so it's okay. Real Raven says, "Ha ha, so true, exactly." Uh, Texas Sheep Lady says, "Don't eat Mexican food in Utah either." Hey, another rule of thumb: don't buy sushi from a convenience store in a subway 3 levels below ground in Germany. It's probably not a good idea. I almost bought some sushi and then I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. We're in a subway and we're, like, way underground and we're in Germany and, probably this sushi is not very good." Um, what was the other funny thing? Oh, this was just a funny pun I thought of because I was trying to think of, I don't know, just funny movie lines that you turn to German movie lines, and I thought it would be funny if you, "It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the lederhosen again." I made myself laugh at that one. If you can think of other movie lines that you can change one word and make it German, leave that in the comments. If you got a good laugh for me, leave it in the comments. A good pun or wordplay, I always appreciate it. So, okay, that's all. We're just hanging out, having fun. And oh, LPJ, is this your first time in Germany? No, but it is my first time in Germany was last year. But I only went to Freiburg for the end of my husband's tour. So this is my first time in Munich, and it's been fun. And we're gonna go to some kind of castle tomorrow, and I'll tell you my favorite parts as we go. In case you've been here or you get to come here. Oh, we went to a cathedral on Sunday called St. Paul's here in Munich. It's not as old as some of the ones I saw on the last trip in Freiburg, but it was beautiful. It was built in 1908, where they started building it in the late 1800s, and then it was basically almost entirely destroyed during World War II from air raids, and so they had to rebuild the whole thing. And we went to the service. I love going to these services in these big cathedrals, and you don't even have to know the language. I don't know what they're saying, but I know what they're saying some of the time. And I could tell when they were saying the Lord's Prayer. I could tell when they were saying the creed. And then if you're not a Catholic, which I'm not, and you don't feel comfortable taking communion, you can go up. I always go up and you just do this. No matter what country you're in, you just put your arms on your chest like this when you get to the priest. And instead of giving you a wafer or wine or whatever, if you do your arms like that, that means you want a blessing. And then they'll give you a blessing. They just will say a prayer and like touch your forehead, and it's beautiful. It's always like heartwarming. And you don't even, he's saying German, but it's like beautiful. So if you're ever traveling to another country, try it. I would recommend it. It's a good way to spend a Sunday, and you get to see these beautiful old churches being used. Okay. That's it. Rich Campbell. Oh, that's a good one. I'll be back. Stop. You win. I have to tell my husband that one. You win. That's great. Okay, cool. You guys have a good night. I'll see you around. If you like the video, hit like. And this week. So Wednesday night, we have another pop culture that's going to be coming out. This one is going to be about British television comedy. Our Wednesday night, 8:00 Central Time show. And we have special guest Neil James from Blocked Magazine. He is an expert in being British. And so he came to provide his opinions. So that'll be with me, Mystery Chris, and Neil James on Wednesday. We already recorded it. We're putting it out Wednesday night. And then on Friday, Thursday or Friday, I'm going to be releasing an interview. I'm really excited about this one. It's with Starzan, and it's all about, I haven't done an interview about this before. It's about the fat positivity, fat acceptance movement, and how it got sucked up into the woke ideology and social justice, and how destructive it is, and how crazy it's gotten. She's amazing. She got swept up in that world and got herself out of it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to her. She's brilliant, funny, real individual. And that's going to come out either Thursday or Friday. I'll let you know. But I definitely recommend it because that's one of the big parts of social justice right now that's not being talked about as much as the trans part or the race part, but it's this obesity is positive part, which is harming people and harming kids. So anyway, check that out when it comes out. Thank you guys. I had fun hanging out with you. I'll see you later. If I knew how to say, I forgot how to say guten. How do you say good night? Is it guten Tag? I forgot to say it in German already. Oh man. Okay. I just have to say good night the regular way. Okay. Bye guys. Take care.